much for joining us here for another wonderful seminar at Chaos. Big hand to the entire crew here at Chaos. Okay. You guys know I start every seminar like that. These guys work real hard to set up all day for this event, and they're here long after you're gone. So we really appreciate that. Thank you to all of you guys there, okay? Again, my name is Captain Mike. I'm the founder of Florida Sport Fishing Magazine and the creator and host of Florida Sport Fishing TV. A couple things I want to mention about our company real quick, and then we'll get into our topic of conversation. I'd like to remind everybody that Florida Sport Fishing TV, our 12th consecutive season, is currently airing on World Fishing Network, and it will do so through the end of 2022. In January of 2023, our 13th season starts on the Sportsman Channel across the country. We're real excited about that. Simultaneously, we'll be launching a new show titled Captain Mike's Rigging Station. I know you guys are going to love this new series. It's really geared toward making you a more successful angler. Totally raw, unscripted, high energy, a lot of great information that's going to keep you hooked up on the water in January, and that will air on Bally Sports across Florida. So we'll have two different series airing simultaneously, regionally and nationally. We're real excited about that. Of course, we also have our streaming channel that I encourage you to join. It is Florida Sport Fishing TV Plus. There's over 400 instructional videos, no YouTube ads. You get to see exclusive content with weekly seminars. All of the new shows, once they're produced, they'll be posted on this platform before they're on TV. So you'll have an opportunity to see it there. In addition, members also enjoy a 24/7 fishing helpline. So any questions, comments, concerns that you have regarding anything related to saltwater fishing around Florida and beyond, you can send us an email and you'll immediately get a response. We don't know everything, but what we don't know, we know who to contact to find out. So we'll help you in every way that we possibly can. It's only a few dollars a month. And I mean, for the cost of a burger, you can have access to all of this. The website is Fsftv.com. Very easy. Everybody say it with me. Fsftv.com. That's simple. So by the time I leave here tonight and drive 3 hours back home to Marathon, by the time I get home, I'm going to log into my computer and I'm going to see all of you guys are new members, right? Yes. All right. Let's get right into it here, guys. Dolphin fishing. This certainly is perhaps the most popular saltwater game. Well, it's definitely the most popular saltwater offshore game fish. And certainly, you know, one of the most exciting, there's no question. I mean, these fish grow incredibly fast. And just so you know how fast, there have been studies where dolphin have been kept in captivity and given a perfect diet with perfect water temperature, perfect lighting conditions, perfect salinity, and that fish grew from 5 pounds to 52 pounds in 1 year, okay? So, of course, not every fish out here is going to grow 50 pounds in a year because they don't have unlimited food, okay? And that's why that one fish grew to that size. However, in the wild, your average dolphin will grow approximately 2 pounds a month, okay? That's the average. So your fish that are 10, 15 pounds are not even a year old. Those are babies, okay? But not really babies in their lifespan because they're lucky if they make it to see 1 year. 2 years is even more rare. And beyond that, they're really giant trophy fish that are far and few between. My introduction to dolphin came many, many years ago as a deckhand on a headboat up in New Jersey. Back 35, oh my God, 35 years ago, okay? And tuna fishing out in the canyons. And after we'd load up on yellowfin tunas and longfin tuna, we would spend some time going to look for dolphin. And up there in the Northeast canyons, we didn't have the weed lines or the number of dolphin that, you know, we generally have in South Florida. But what we had a lot up there, anybody ever fish up in the Northeast canyons, are the lobster traps, okay, the lobster traps. So you had this marker, you know, coming out, and it had a flag, and there was obviously a line going 1,000 or even 2,000 feet down to the bottom that connected to a chain of lobster traps. And we would take this head boat, this 100-foot party boat, name of the boat was the Golden Eagle, by the way, and literally just jump from pot to pot to pot. And we'd stand up there in the tip of the pulpit as we approached each of these pots, the crew, the mates, looking for the dolphin. And we would signal the captain way up in the wheelhouse and go, oh, you know, we see him or we don't see him. And I'll never forget the very first time we pulled up, or I don't want to say the very first time, but this one particular time, we pulled up to this pot. And as we're getting closer and closer, I just didn't understand what I was seeing. The water was all blue and then suddenly it was all green. And we had crossed paths with the largest migration of mahi, of dolphin, that I've ever seen in my life. There had to be 5,000 fish. They were all 5 pounds, but there were 5,000 of them. We pulled up to that pot, tied off to it, and for the next 5 hours, wiped out almost the entire school. You know, it was absolutely crazy. As fast as you can put a bait in the water, you were hooked up to a 5-pound dolphin. Literally thousands of them, barrels of them. It was, looking back now, it was an absolute disgusting slaughter that we should have never done. But back then, 35 years ago, we all thought the oceans were never going to dry up. We thought it was okay to kill every fish. You know, it was crazy. Of course, that's not the case today. I've experienced a lot of different dolphin fishing in a lot of different places. You know, Guatemala in the Pacific, out there trolling for sailfish and blue marlin. So many 20 to 30 pound dolphin that literally your arms hurt, that we got to a point where we pull every bait that's in the water that has a hook in it comes out of the water because you're tired of catching 20 and 30 pound dolphin. And we only pull big teasers to tease up the blue marlin that you can then pitch a bait to. Can you imagine that? So many dolphin that you're just tired of catching 20 and 30 pounders. Places in Costa Rica, fishing the Zancudo Lodge out of Golfito Bay, offshore on the humps for blue marlin, sailfish, and suddenly the boat gets surrounded by 30 to 50 pound dolphin. And you're fishing blue runners, and you're throwing a blue runner out, and if that fish doesn't look at least 30 to 40 pounds, you're pulling the blue runner away from it, because you only want to hook the true giants, okay? Unbelievable. And if you fish the Pacific, you know there are no small dolphin out there. I don't know where the 2, 3, 5, 10, 12, 15 pounders are. I have no idea, because it seems that every dolphin out there is at least 20 pounds. And I've seen them up to 70 pounds. So there are some real I've experienced. Then again, I've also experienced some really bad dolphin fishing. Okay? Some of the worst that I've ever experienced in my life. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but I'm going to be straight up with you, you know, transparent with you. I fished out of Hillsborough Inlet for 25 years. And every time somebody said, let's go dolphin fishing, I went, oh my God, no, dolphin fishing. I mean, I loved it. We all love it. But it's really such a hit or miss, right? You go out there and you don't want to stop until you see something that's worth fishing. So sometimes, you know, you're passing 200 feet, 400 feet, 600 feet, 800 feet, and you're going until you're on at least the sword grounds. And then you want to keep going beyond that because you still haven't found anything. And then certainly there are days where you'll come across some fish and, you know, you'll catch some. There's no question. We've all caught dolphin here. But there's a lot of days where you just can't find them, okay? And you strike out and there's no plan B. It's not like, what am I going to do now? Okay, you know, you've invested all this time, money, energy, everything into catching these dolphin that you just can't find. So it certainly can be very challenging, and I've experienced it all. I now live down in Marathon in the Florida Keys. And before I go on with this seminar, I have one more question. Who wants to catch more dolphin? Okay, if you didn't raise your hand, I don't know why you're here, but we all want to catch more dolphin, right? Go home, pack your bags, sell your house, move to the Keys. I'm telling you that right now. Okay, honestly, I'm going to tell you that right now. The difference between there and here is not this, it's this. It's night and day. It is absolutely ridiculous of what that difference is, the volume of dolphin that you're going to find in the Keys versus here. It's a completely different fishery. And I bring that up because, you know, I've done dolphin seminars here in the past, multiple times. What we're going to talk about today is different. It's different than what I've talked about in the past, because the way that I dolphin fished here, I would go out here, I run a 39 CV, and I would say to myself, man, I really need this really awesome spread with as many baits in the water, teasers, ballyhoo, skirted lures, this, that, the kitchen sink. I don't care, anything that I can put out there to try and find 3 dolphin. And if I can catch more than that, I'm in good shape. And, you know, rarely do I say, hey, I'm going to go out here and go dolphin fishing, but I only want to catch gaffers or slammers, the bigger fish, right? I just want to see a dolphin, let alone be selective that I only want to catch the big ones. So the tactics and what we did here are completely different than what we do down in the Keys. And I want to share some different experiences with you, different encounters, how I look at the dolphin fishery now, what I've learned, not only from New England and the Atlantic coast, but the Pacific coast, and of course down in the Keys. Because the truth of the matter is, listen, the Florida Keys is not that far away, and who visits the Keys? Let's go, okay? Let's go. I mean, you're all going down there anyway. So we're going to talk a lot about that too, because I'm going to tell you that your odds of being a successful dolphin fisherman are much greater down there, like I said, than they are here. So, you know, back in the day, I used to think about these fish, and I didn't really think a lot about the fish themselves. You know, maybe I should have thought more about them, but, you know, we know it's a fast-growing fish. Dolphins spawn continuously. Millions, hundreds of millions of eggs from every female through her lifespan. And do you know what that one dolphin is trying to do? She is trying to duplicate herself. One. So she may lay, a cow dolphin may lay 100 million eggs in the hopes that one survives to replace herself. And even though those numbers seem drastic, think about it. If every female dolphin, or if every dolphin duplicated itself by 2, 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 4, 4 turns into 8, you could follow it up from there, and the oceans would be teeming with dolphin. They'd be overflowing with dolphin. There would be so many of them. But we know that isn't the case. They're constantly on the move. Dolphin live for 2 reasons: to eat and to make babies. That's pretty much their only purpose in life, to eat and make babies. And they're always moving. You know, dolphin rarely sit in one spot overnight. There's been a lot of tagging studies. There's a dolphin tagging program currently, you know, in play right now. You could all be involved and tag dolphin. I've done it myself. It's a lot of fun, very rewarding. Okay. And, you know, it's proven that these fish swim in a giant circle in the Atlantic Ocean. Right now, they're going this way. They're migrating north. And they're going to go around the Sargasso Sea in the North Atlantic. They're going to come way down the other side, below the Bahamas, and come up the Caribbean. Okay, below, in between the Bahamas and, for example, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and come back up the coast here. Now, of course, they're going to smash right into the Florida Keys before they come up here. And I assure you that 99% of the fishermen who are fishing on the ocean side in the Florida Keys, guess what they're targeting? Dolphin. So that fish has to make it by all of those anglers. And then he's got to make it by all of the anglers in Miami area, of which there's a lot and growing rapidly. And of course, he has to survive predation by other fish. And what's the #1 fish that eats dolphin? Dolphin. Dolphin, that's why. Remember when I said earlier, I said, you know, in the Pacific, you never seem to see 5-pound dolphin. They all seem to be 50 pounds or, you know, big fish. Because a 5-pounder is too scared to swim around with 25-pounders. They'll eat them. They'll eat them. Dolphin love to eat little baby dolphin. So, they've got to make it past all the other dolphin, sharks, swordfish, billfish in general. Wahoo eat juvenile dolphin. I don't think there's a game fish out there that doesn't eat dolphin. It's crazy. And of course, like I said, the bigger dolphin eat the smaller dolphin. But they'll smash into the Keys area, and then they'll work their way up the line. Now, down there in the Keys, we tend to have a lot of sargassum weed, the same, of course, sargassum weed that you have here, but much, much more, much more. I remember plenty of days here where you'd run offshore and never find any grass at all. You're struggling to find anything that you wish you could call a weed line. Okay, there's 3 pieces. Ooh, I found a weed line. That's not a weed line. Come down there off of Isle Morada, I'll show you a weed line. There's so much grass down there, it's ridiculous. Right now, there's too much grass. I can't even wahoo fish along the edge because there's just too much grass and your lures get fouled up. So nevertheless, over the years, I've really started to think a lot more about these fish. I went to the University of Miami where they're doing these farming programs, fish farming, and the dolphin is a game fish that they want to farm. So they're doing all of these studies, and initially the idea was to take a dolphin and grow it for a year. And that's why they did that study, to see how large they can get a dolphin. And they realized to feed a fish nonstop would just be too expensive. The amount of money that it would yield at the end of the cycle wouldn't be worth what it cost you to get it to that level. The profit margin just wouldn't work. So they said, okay, well, maybe we don't need to get the fish to be 50 pounds. Maybe we only need to get the fish to be 20 pounds. And then the numbers started to make a little bit more sense. And then somebody said, well, wait a minute, they grow so fast, maybe we only need them to get to be 10 pounds before we harvest them out of the farm. And then somebody said, no, I got a better idea. Let's make the fish 2 pounds. Okay, let's make it small, where out of each fish you get 2 portions. You get 2 fillets that are each 1 portion. And they did the numbers and the math and some experiments, and when all of this was said and done, they realized that the most efficient means of fish farming dolphin is to grow countless numbers of dolphin, literally millions, if not hundreds of millions of them, this big, like sardines, this big. And to take those fish that are literally 4 inches and to make all of these fish byproducts from these small little dolphin. That's what would make the most financial sense. May it be ground fish for pet food, for animal feed. You order a pizza with anchovies? Not anymore. Say, hey, I'd like a large pie with mahi. Okay? And they're going to replace the anchovies with little dolphin. You go to the supermarket and the little can of, anchovies is going to be dolphin. Don't laugh. That's going to happen one day in the near future. But nevertheless, I learned as much as I could about them, and it really is an incredibly fascinating fish. They spawn at night, not during the day. They spend most of their time, obviously, toward the surface, but they'll swim down well over 800 feet. So you're talking about a fish that has the ability to be caught right on the surface and has the ability to feed 800 feet below the surface. Because they're a schooling fish, they have to be aggressive. Right? Because they can't be selective, because if they don't eat that meal, he will, she will, he will. So they have to eat almost anything you put in front of them. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, that's not true, Mike, because there have been 100 times when I've seen a whole bunch of dolphin around the boat, and I put stuff in the water in front of them. I threw everything that I could, life jackets, everything short of a stick of dynamite, and they wouldn't eat it. Am I right? Okay. Well, of course, that's because those fish have been pressured. They've been beat on by, you're not the first guy who came across those dolphin and said, hey, woohoo, the skies opened up and God gave me a gift. No, trust me, those fish have been beat up. They're under a lot of pressure. In addition to that, they may have been feeding overnight. And even though they constantly feed, they certainly can be selective. We've all seen that. Dolphin can be very, very picky, very picky. And as they get older, as they get bigger, those large schools tend to break up. And eventually they get into this, I don't want to call it a rhythm, I'll call it a pack mentality, where you have one bull dolphin. He's the Mac Daddy, and he's got his harem of cows. Okay, so it's very common to catch a bull dolphin and 2 or 3 cows. Very rare to see 2 big bull dolphins side by side. Very, very rare. Okay, because most of them, like I said, are going to be the cows next to that one bull. They're territorial, believe it or not. Okay? So a fascinating fish, but also somewhat of a relatively easy fish to catch when it comes to offshore game fish. And that's why they're the most popular. Okay, it's hard to catch blue marlin. There's not as many of them. It's hard to catch wahoo. You got to put in a lot of time, effort, energy, gas, and it's a hit or miss. It's hard to catch, all of these billfish and, yellowfin tunas. You got to go over to the Bahamas from here. Sure, every now and then somebody catches one here, but it's rare. Blackfin tunas, of course, are common this time of the year. Even the bigger ones, in the spring. But the dolphin, there's really 365 days a year you can go out there and catch a dolphin. Certainly the spring and the summer is peak season. And for example, down in the Keys, May 1st, it's like somebody flicked a light switch. And suddenly every single guy that fishes in the Keys has switched from reef fishing or wreck fishing or any other fishing to go dolphin fishing. And that's because all of the charter boats are loaded with these groups that come in from West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming, wherever. They're all visiting the Keys, and what do they want to do? They don't want to catch a snapper. They don't even know what a snapper is, but everybody knows what a dolphin is. And they have this grandeur vision of this beautiful jumping fish, and loading their freezers. So it's such a popular species. And really, once you get on top of them, there's a lot of different ways to catch them, and it doesn't require a tremendous amount of skill, although it does require some patience, and it does require that you look at these fish maybe a little bit different than what you have in the past, because I certainly have learned to do that. When I first moved to the Keys, of course, I put out my outriggers, I'd go offshore dolphin fishing, I'm fishing 12 lines off the back of my boat. I'm like, I got this, okay? I'd get up to a weed line and literally in a matter of minutes, complete mayhem. Because you've got all of these lines in the water, and what happens is, number one, most of them now have grass, because there's so much grass down there, and you're spending so much time dealing with the lines that you're not really focusing on the task at hand. And the task at hand is catching the dolphin. Okay? It's not how many lines can I fish effectively. Now when I fish in the Keys and I troll 4 lines. 4. And you don't need to troll more than 4 lines. Oftentimes we troll 2, and I'm going to explain the different scenarios to you when we do that. If I'm going dolphin fishing tomorrow morning, okay, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready with some trolling lures, and I'm going to be ready with some natural baits, and I'm going to be ready with some cut bait. Do you absolutely need live bait? No, you do not, okay? Is it nice to have a live well full of live pilchards? Of course it is, because sometimes when those dolphin are very finicky, they've been beat up, it's flat calm, the water's crystal clear, and while you think that fish can't see your 20 or 30 pound leader, you're mistaken. We know it from footage from underwater cameras, 30 pound fluorocarbon underwater in the crystal clear offshore Gulf Stream. Looks like somebody took a black Sharpie. I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh my God, that's my line. It is that prevalent and prominent underwater, even fluorocarbon. Mono is even worse. So these fish can see incredibly well, and they can see things that you cannot. Okay, they can see things that you can't. So you need to remember that as well. So nevertheless, we know that dolphin are a schooling fish, and if we're looking for quantity, because we're going to talk about 2 different things here. We're going to talk about quantity, and then we're going to talk about quality. Because first, we all want to catch as many dolphin as we can. We're anglers. We want to go out there, we put in the time, the energy, the money, the effort. We want to have a good time, and oftentimes action is the definition of a good time. Is that with women or with fish? Or, sorry about that. No. So, you know, we want to catch as many as we possibly can, right? So it's about quantity. Well, we know that these fish are schooling, but I want to be able to really be as efficient as I possibly can. So the first thing that I'm going to do is potentially put out a trolling spread of, like I said, no more than 4 lines. Very simple. Trust me when I tell you, if you come across a school of dolphin, if you have 12 baits in the water, and they're very likely 12 different things, okay, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different, you know, you may have some ballyhoo, you may have some chuggers, and you're going too fast for the ballyhoo to swim properly, but you're going too slow for the chuggers to swim properly because you have the naked ballyhoo. You just have way too much going on. Well, I know for a fact that one of dolphins' favorite food that they cannot resist is squid, okay? Dolphin love squid. It's their primary forage. They eat more squid than anything else. So in my mind, I say to myself, well, if I want to catch dolphin, and if I want to coerce dolphin into biting my baits, I'm going to fish something that looks like a squid, okay? I'm not going to fish a giant lure that is potentially 8 to 12 inches, something that you would fish in the canyons or in the Pacific, okay? I fish very small lures. That's it, right there. Nothing larger than that. It's what, 5 inches? It's a very small lure. This is a Zacatac. It's a micro lure. It's called the atomic bomb or something like that. And as you can see, it's got a little chugger head, very clean, and it looks like a squid. There are other variations. Here's another one. And by the way, just these black things are Dubrow, leader, and lure keepers. It's just a neat way to organize your lures. But the point of the matter is I'm showing you the lure. Again, 5 or 6 inches, big eye, looks like a squid. Another favorite, and this is a secret. This is a Florida Keys secret that I am going to share with you, right? This secret alone is worth your membership to Florida Sport Fishing TV Plus. I'm not kidding you. If you want the #1 dolphin lure in the Florida Keys, this is it, right here. And I'm going to pass it around from this corner. I want it to go around the whole room so you see the simplicity of this bait. It's 5 or 6 inches long. It's got a little squid body on there. Has a little clear acrylic head, okay, with little jets, little holes drilled in the head. Nothing else. That's it, right there. Okay, I've got it rigged on a piece of 150-pound Momoy extra hard leader material, 4 or 5 feet long, nothing more than that. A little swivel right on the top, crimped on a little 50-pound ball-bearing swivel. That is it, a VMC forged long shank hook right there, a 9.0 VMC forged long shank hook. That's the entirety of the rig. And all of these other lures that I just showed you are mimics of this lure. In other words, they're just good replacements if you don't have this. If you go down to the Florida Keys, there's a very small number of tackle shops, including Marathon Bait and Tackle, that sell this particular lure in this color. I promise you that if there are any dolphin within 500 yards of your boat, they're going to eat this lure. It's literally that good. And I know that I'm building it up, but again, I'm being honest with you. It's somehow the shape and style of that head creates some sort of encapsulating bubble around that lure. It's hard to even put into words. I've never seen any other lure do this. And you put it in the water and it's literally completely covered in what appears to be an air bubble. And then it'll come up and breathe, smoke will come off the back, it'll dive, it'll come back up. What's so neat about this lure is you can put it, there you go. By the way, okay. What's so neat about that lure is you can put it anywhere in the trolling spread. Forget the days of, oh my God, am I in the 3rd wave or my 5th wave? Hey, where am I? Huh? No, put it back there. Put it back there. Put 2 of them way back there. Put 1 shorter. I don't care where you put them. The dolphin are going to jump on them. It's practically weedless. It's a very easy lure to pull. You pull it at 8 to 10 miles an hour, fast. You're covering a lot of ground, and I promise you, you are going to be successful. Will it work here? I don't know. I've never pulled it here, but I don't know why it wouldn't. It's a great lure. It's a great dolphin lure, and if it works there and the fish jump all over it, certainly it should work here as well. Here's another somewhat variation, a little feather, something we've all been pulling forever for dolphin, and it works. But again, point, looks like a squid, looks like a small little squid. Don't go crazy trying to reinvent the wheel. The damn things eat squid, feed them squid. That's it, okay, period. Keep it simple, okay, keep it simple. Fish 4 lines, okay, not because I only want to catch 4 fish at a time. I'm only trying to catch 1 fish at a time, right? Certainly it's nice to double up. Oh, you get one on, then you get another one on. Of course that's exciting, and that's going to happen with the 4 too. But that's not my logic. That's not what I'm trying to do. You see, I'm trying to pull the wool over their eyes. I'm trying to bait and switch these fish. My goal is not to spend the day trolling and pulling these baits and dealing with grass and this and that. My goal is to go out there, get in an area where I am convinced there are dolphin. Okay, I'm convinced. I'm not just going to stop the boat and start trolling. I don't care where you are. Here, there, up there. You got to fish where you believe there are fish. There has to be something that's going to hold those fish there. May it be floating debris. Floating debris could be sargassum weed. Floating debris could be pallets, right? The epitome of, hey, I found a pallet. Anybody ever roll up on a pallet offshore? Got it. I'm going to tell you a quick little pallet story. In the beginning, when people used to say to me, dude, just look for pallets. Oh, I'm sorry, what? Pallets. Why in the world would there be a pallet that is probably in the back of this warehouse floating around out there? There's no way there's pallets out there. Sure as shit, there's pallets out there. Okay, I promise you, they're out there. I have no idea where they're originally coming from. Off of freighters, cruise ship, I don't know. You know, off of land somewhere, maybe somebody tried to build a raft from it, all sorts of things. But there are pallets out there. You want to know how many dolphin I've caught on pallets? Not very many. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I roll up on a pallet, you know what's on it? Triple tail and jacks. Okay, and there's a couple triple tail laying sideways underneath it, and I can't help but kill them too. But nevertheless, I never seem to have a lot of luck on pallets. Okay? However, I believe that's because the pallet only goes down in the water about this much. You need something that really sticks down in the water. I would rather find a styrofoam float with a 10-foot rope hanging down. And if that rope has growth on it, there's going to be dolphin on it. There's going to be dolphin. The deeper something is in the water, the more likely that you're going to find dolphin around that piece of debris. Okay? But again, the point I'm making is floating debris. It could be pallets. It could be tree trunks, pilings. On a recent dolphin trip, and I've got pictures of this, you'll see it on my Instagram page, I found a whole bundle of fluorescent light bulbs. These, the whole bundle of them. I found tarps. I found all sorts of stuff floating around out there because there is a lot of trash that's coming from other countries because we know the Florida Straits and the Gulf Stream, right, are coming right by us. So anything below us, south of us, is coming this way. And if there's a storm down there somewhere, think about all of that debris that makes its way into the ocean. It's all headed right toward you. But before it gets to you, guess who's getting to it first? Okay? Us guys down there. So your odds of finding something are slim, and your odds of finding something that actually holds fish are even slimmer. But nevertheless, certainly it happens. Point I'm making is I'm not going to fish unless I see something that says, hey, Mike, yo, there could be some dolphin right here, start fishing. Floating debris, birds. Oh my God, birds. Who loves birds? When you're offshore dolphin fishing, who loves frigates? We love frigates, okay? Let me tell you something. When you're offshore dolphin fishing and you see a lot of birds, there's a whole flock of birds. They're small, but there's a whole flock of them. They're working like crazy. And you're like, yes, we found the mother lode. No, you didn't. You found a whole bunch of small birds that are picking off small little baits that small dolphin or little bonitas or blackfin tunas, little bullets, are forcing up toward the surface. Those flocks of birds with the small little birds are not what's going to hold or not what's going to lead the way to the dolphin. On the other hand, you're offshore and you see 3 frigates. 3. And they're working very low to, everybody knows what a frigate is, right? And they're working very low to the water. Bingo. Now you just hit the jackpot. Because remember that a frigate, the height above the surface that frigate is flying is generally the depth of the bait that he's looking at. So if he's way up there, 200 feet in the air, 100 feet in the air, he's not actively working. He sees something. He's a phenomenal fisherman. Far better than you and I. A frigate's the most amazing fisherman in the world. He's got incredible eyesight, and he's a specialized hunter. He can't get wet. What kind of bird, what kind of seabird can't get wet? A frigate can't get wet. That's why you've never seen a frigate land on the water, okay? He doesn't have that oil on his feathers like a lot of the other birds, so that repels the water. So he's got to be able to pick off prey in midair. Ballyhoo, flying fish, and other birds. I don't know if you've noticed this, but frigates eat other birds, okay? So in turn, when that frigate is real low to the water, he's waiting for large fish right there to push the bait up, because a frigate is not going to chase a small little silver side this big. He's not. He's going to chase a flying fish or a ballyhoo, primarily a flying fish, okay? So again, I'm going to pass that back. I really want everybody to take a look at this. I'm serious about what an effective lure that is. I have no idea what it's called. It's called a dolphin catcher. That's what I call it. Okay? So in turn, frigates or big birds, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for smaller numbers of bigger birds. That's a sign to me that says, Mike, fish here. Okay? What about color changes? Certainly a color change is a great sign, because that's something that's creating that color change. It could be opposing currents. It could be a temperature change. Something is changing right there that creates this barrier. And along that barrier could potentially be bait fish. So again, that's a great sign to start fishing here. In the Keys off of Marathon, I'm going to tell you how good the dolphin fishing really is. I come out of a little area called Sister Creek in Marathon, and I run south, and you get to 650 feet of water, right to the edge of it. So as an example, I come out of my pass, I'm heading south, I'm going to go over the patch reefs, then it's going to go 200, 250, 300, 400, 650. Stop. That 650 will plateau for 7 miles. I will not fish until I'm on that side of the plateau, which is approximately 13 to 15 miles, depending on where you are in the Keys. That's where you want to start your dolphin fishing. Will you catch them in between there? Absolutely. But if you want the sure thing, they're on that edge. They're on that far edge at 650. You get out there and it's going to be like somebody flicked a light switch. There's the birds. I've got a Furuno TZ Touch Network. It's got bird mode. I turn it on, I push a button, 3 miles away. I'm like, oop, there they are. Okay? Really, really nice feature. If you don't have that, that's okay. But there's something that you absolutely are going to need. Amen, brothers and sisters. Binoculars, okay? The most vital tool that you can have when you're dolphin fishing. Keep your eyes glued. And if multiple people on the boat can have their face in a pair of binoculars, it's even more, useful, more beneficial. You've got to find the birds. That's what we're looking for. That's how we find dolphin. We don't look for dolphin. We're not running around and looking on our sounder going, oh, there they are. Anybody ever read dolphin on their machine and go, stop, here they are? We don't do it that way, right? It doesn't work like that. We look for something up there or over there or way out there. What is that way out there? Something that tells us this is where the dolphin are going to be. So remember that. If all you do is just, and again, here or there, if all you do is just run out there and you're drinking beers and you're not paying attention to everything that's going on around you, what do you think is going to happen? Not much. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Once I find that neon sign that says, Mike, fish right here, this is where they're at. And again, I'm not starting to look until I'm on that 650 line. And now I start to look and I see some grass, whatever it is, now I start to fish. We take 4 lures. The one that I'm passing around, the dolphin killer catcher thing, or anything else that's similar to it. 4 to 6 inches, small, mimics a squid. There's no, you'll see how that lure is rigged. There's no additional swivels. There's no additional terminal tackle on my line, because every single second that I'm wasting clearing grass off my swivel. Anybody ever get sargassum weed on their snap swivel? Not one person here said yes. You guys are all full of it. Who's gotten grass on their lures and on their rig? We all have, right? All of us. It happens. So you've got to eliminate as much of that on your line as you can. You know, eliminate those sticky points, that's what I call them, where grass could get caught on your rig. Because every second that you're worried about clearing grass and dealing with that is 1 second that you're not fishing. So we'll put the lures back. We're fishing them on relatively light rods. This is a Chaos Gold. It's a KC 15 to 30 pound class rod, 7 foot long. And like I say in every seminar, if you're not fishing Chaos rods, you're not fishing. Okay, and you certainly aren't catching. So this is just an ideal outfit for this type of fishing, for light duty trolling. It's matched to a Shimano Talica 16. Okay, it's a single speed reel. You don't need a 2-speed reel for dolphin fishing, but it's a nice feature, and you can use that reel in other venues as well. But if you can't get your hands on a 2-speed reel, that's okay. A single speed reel will be fine for what you're doing here. Because remember, the vast majority of dolphin that you're going to hook are going to be how big? Schoolies, you know, that's what we'll call them, schoolies, fish that you could pretty much flip over the side of the boat. They're juveniles, you know, they're a few months old. There's a lot of them. They swim in a pack. They're often aggressive. That's going to be the bulk of it. And remember, we said earlier, we're looking for quantity. So we'll put out 4 of these. We'll start trolling around whatever that debris is, usually a well-formed weed line with some birds. Because sometimes there's so much structure, so much grass, that you go, well, how do I fit? Where do I fish? There's just so much, okay? And that may not be the case here, but I assure you that's the case there, that there are many occasions where there's just grass everywhere. So what I do is go, okay, well, wait a minute. I've got one ingredient, I've got grass. Now let me try and couple that up, because there's grass everywhere. But now if I see grass and birds, okay, that's something special. That's different than everywhere else. Why are the birds there? Because the fish are forcing the bait up. So in turn, that's a great sign. I'll put a couple lures out. I'll start working the area. If you only have 2 rods and 2 lures, that's perfectly fine. Okay, don't think you need this big arsenal. It also depends as to who's on the boat. Look, if you've got, if you and you are coming fishing with me, we're all fishing together. This is your rod. This is your rod. This is your rod. Everybody has their own rod. In 1 second, I could say, okay, guys, let those out. Bring yours in. We've got a whole team working together efficiently, like a NASCAR pit crew, right? We could really be efficient together. It's not 4 people sitting down and Mike doing all the work. Not with me. You come fishing with me, we're fishing together as a team. So if I've got people on the boat that are qualified anglers and they're into it and they're fishing, you can fish more rods because it's easier. But if you only have 1 person and yourself, it might be easier to only fish 2 instead of 4. Needless to say, we're going to get a fish on. I know we're going to get a fish on. It's not if, it's when. It could be 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or an hour and 5 minutes, but at some point, we're going to hook up because there's just that many dolphin down there. Some days are better than other days. Some days they're bigger than other days, but they're there, okay? They're there. So we get one on. Now at that point, I'm going to keep the boat moving forward because oftentimes we can turn one bite into 2 bites or 2 bites into 3, depending on how many lines you have out. So I'll keep the boat moving forward, okay, at the same rate of speed. I've got plenty of line. My reels are loaded with 20-pound diamond line, orange crush. It's a high-vis line. Very, very important, the high-vis line. I could see this really easily. I'm at the wheel of my CV. I can turn around and easily track every single bait. And there are times we fish the orange crush and the high-vis, the chartreuse color, which makes it even easier to, differentiate between the different lines. If this line was like a blue or a light gray, you would lose sight of it in the bright sunlight and it would be a little bit more challenging. So on outfits that are designed for trolling, we always fish that high-vis diamond line. Like I said, either in that chartreuse high-vis or in the orange crush. It makes a big, big difference. But because it is so visible, we don't like to run it right to the lure, as you can see. So we add a top shot. Doesn't need to be a lot, 20 feet, 25 feet of blue or clear, okay? Just a top shot in between the high-vis line and the lure itself. Connected with that little barrel swivel that we talked about earlier. There's nothing else on there. There's nothing else that could catch grass. We hook a fish, I keep the boat moving forward. The rod's bouncing like this. Who's ever in the cockpit is, we got them all, we got them all. I'm like, I know. We're going, and I'll at least give it a 5 to 8 second count. Okay, 1, 2, and I'm not counting out loud, but I'm going. And oftentimes you'll see one of the most exciting things to me in all of fishing is when you look behind a boat and you see a dolphin racing across the surface with its fin, right out of the water, just racing over to a lure. Anybody that's ever seen that? How cool is that, right? And that fish is coming from way over there. And you go, how in the world did he way over there see my lure over there? That's what they do. They're hunters. They're specialized hunters. They feed in the ocean. They eat fish for a living, fish and squid. And there's so many of them, they better be damn good at catching them. So they've got these skills that we can't even imagine. As a matter of fact, they've got some skills. Did you know that dolphin, we know they're gold and green and blue, okay? But dolphin will often turn their entire body gold and get into a large weed patch and literally shake all of that weed around to dislodge any little seahorses and crabs and filefish and sargassum fish and little trigger fish and anything that's embedded in that grass to pick it off and eat it. Okay, they're very, very specialized hunters. Nevertheless, we hook a fish, and regardless if we hook another one or not, at some point I'm going to pull that throttle back. The second I pull that throttle back, we're throwing chunks. I don't wait for the boat to stop. Immediately start throwing chunks, okay? My logic, we're trolling, we hooked up, the fish is coming this way, there's other fish with them, we're throwing chunks, the boat's continuing to move forward. Even if I put into neutral, the boat's going to keep moving forward. And rarely am I going to put the boat in neutral. I'm going to pull those throttles back, but the boat's still going to be in gear. We're still going to be moving forward because I want my line stretched out behind the boat. And I don't want any slack line in that fish that we have hooked up. So I'm now leaving a trail of crumbs, right? A trail of crumbs. That's the best way to look at it. Over here on the side, I'm ready. I've got spinning rods, 4 of them, rigged and ready to go. In this particular case, it's a Chaos Gold SP 15 to 30, 7-foot spinning rod. This is perhaps the most versatile offshore spinning rod that Chaos builds. You can fish this rod from anything from sailfish and king mackerel and snook fishing and all sorts of different stuff, snapper, and it makes just an all-around perfect dolphin rod. It's matched to a Shimano Saragossa 10,000. It's an absolute workhorse. It's not Shimano's top tier reel like the Stella, But do you need a Stella for a 12-pound dolphin? Do you need a $1,200 reel? I do, but you don't. Anyhow, so it's a great workhorse. Loaded with 30-pound braid. There's a ton of line on here. But again, a top shot, a leader, okay, a leader. 7/0 live bait hook with a whole squid. A whole squid. So we're reeling in this dolphin. The boat's gliding forward. Hurry up, throw a bait out. He grabs a spinning rod. He throws a whole squid out behind the boat, opens up the bail. Anybody want to guess what happens? If there's any other dolphin behind the boat, you're going to hook them on the spinning outfit. They're going to eat the bait. And that's what we want. We don't want to troll the fish. We want to bring those fish to us. We want to bring that school of fish to us. The boat then pops into neutral. We no longer have trolling lines out. We now go into a rotation. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of dolphin fishing. You slow the boat down. You're bringing in a 10-pound dolphin, 8-pound dolphin, 5-pound, I don't care how big it is. You've thrown the breadcrumbs. The fish comes up next to the boat, and lo and behold, there's 20 more with it. Right? Very common. There's 20 more with it. Instinctively, everybody goes crazy, and everybody just wants to throw everything that you possibly have in the water. It's the worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do because, yeah, you might hook one or two, but you're going to spook the whole school. There's just way too much going on. Slow it down, okay? Slow down. I'm like, when we go dolphin fishing, I like to consider myself the, who's the guy at an orchestra that goes like this? Yeah, I'm that guy. No, don't touch that. Don't, hold on, don't touch that. Let's get this fish next to the boat. I'm looking at the fish. I'm reading the behavior of the fish. Look at them. If they're really, really aggressive and you throw a handful of chunks and they all come racing in and eat every single chunk, those fish are fired up. Are they not? Those fish are fired up. You better feed them to keep them there because they're eating, they're fired up, and you got to feed them. On the other hand, sometimes you'll throw chunks in the water and they're just like looking at it. Or they'll swim up to it. Maybe one will pick one off. And if you keep throwing bait in the water, you're absolutely going to overfeed them. Okay, and you're going to spook them. Slow it down. Read the fish. Read the behavior. You've got one hook. Once that fish gets close to the boat, take a spinning rod. One. Put a piece of bait on it. Throw it out. Hook another one. Guy walks up the side. The first fish, get him in the boat. There's one fish on over here. He now goes into rotation. Another spinning rod. And you have 4 spinners rigged and ready, and you just go into a rotation and you kill every one of those dolphins. Okay? That's what happens if you take your time, read the situation, and react accordingly. Now understand, I use the word kill every dolphin. That's probably a little cruel. Catch a handful of dolphin. The rules and the regulations. Right now, Florida state waters, you are allowed to keep how many dolphin? 5. Excuse my language, but this is the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen the FWC do in my entire life. People want to save dolphin, and they say, hey, this is out of hand. We don't need to keep 10 dolphin per person, and you don't. You don't. There is not one person in this room who can honestly tell me that you need to keep 10 dolphin each. You don't. That's too much fish. You're not going to eat that much fish. Dolphin is plain. Unless you give it some kind of really good seasoning, it's just plain. You know, it's a great eating fish. You can cook it so many different ways. They're a lot of fun to catch, but I don't need to keep 10 of them, especially if they're, you know, of any quality, of any size. It's just too many, and especially a 60 boat limit. 60 dolphin. The charter boats in the Keys, especially this one group, it's called two conchs. Anybody ever hear of two conchs? Okay. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because they seem to believe that the more fish that they kill, the better that they are. And they were coming back with literally 60 dolphin every trip because there's that many of them out there. It's just way too many. The family from Wyoming doesn't need 60 dolphin, okay? So anyhow, people complain, the state, and people here too, because from this area north, everybody is complaining that the dolphin fishing is not what it used to be. Is that right? Right? It's not what it used to be. So the state of Florida stepped in and said, okay, we're going to reduce the regulations. We're no longer going from 10 fish a person. We're making it 5 fish a person. Hey, that's nice. That's a really good idea. How many dolphin are caught in state waters? That's right, 0.01%. The actual number is 0.3%, or 0.03. In other words, 3% of all of the dolphin that are caught in state waters. The federal regulations, do you know how many dolphin you're allowed to keep? 10. Nothing has changed. We're all fishing for dolphin in federal waters. So the regulations mean nothing. They really mean nothing to help save dolphin. And when they made this reduction, do you know that they actually increased the quota for commercial fishermen? Do you know how many dolphin a commercial boat is allowed to keep per trip legally? Commercial fishing, I'm a commercial fisherman, and I go out there dolphin fishing. What is my daily quota of dolphin? Anybody want to take a stab at it? He said 1,000 pounds or fish? 1,000 fish. That'd be a lot of dolphin in a single day, right? 1,000 fish. Anybody else? 200 fish. There's no limit. If I'm a commercial guy, I can go out there and kill as many damn dolphin as I want. Okay? As many as I want. But you can only keep 10, which is still way too many, in my opinion. But there's got to be a balance there somewhere, and clearly there's no balance when it comes to the dolphin fishing. And I don't know if that's because they, realize that dolphin grow so fast, okay, and that they reproduce so fast, but it's clear that the dolphin fishing here is not what it used to be. There's no question, okay? Down there, it's probably better than it ever than it ever was. I don't know how it could be any better. But here, it's not what it used to be. Nevertheless, the school of dolphin comes around the boat. We read the fish. We start feeding them. We're ready. We already have cut chunks. And keep in mind, I don't want you to think you got to have a 5-gallon bucket of cut bait every time you go out. They sell those 5-pound boxes of silver sides. Those are great to tease the dolphin, to keep them interested. They sell the 5-pound boxes of the small squid that we use for deep dropping and all that stuff. Those are great. They love those. Throw a handful of those. So you can buy a couple 5-pound boxes and never have to cut a single bait. Just thaw them out, have them ready, have something ready to throw when these dolphins show up next to the boat. If you have live bait, certainly that's a huge advantage, but not necessary. You can do this with the dead bait. Slow it down, go into rotation, pick off the fish one at a time. Always keep one in the water. That keeps the other fish interested. That's not a secret. Everybody knows, to do that, okay? When we go dolphin fishing and that scenario unfolds, which is every day down there, now it's not about catching dolphin. We're not about catching as many dolphin. Now it's about catching dolphin the way that you want to catch them. And for me, there's no more exciting method to catch a dolphin than with a popper. Okay? Popper fishing for dolphin is really, really fun. I don't care if it's 5-pound dolphin. Okay? They just come racing in on that popper. They're jumping all over it. Anybody ever popper fish for dolphin? It's really fun. Make sure that you have a rod rigged with a popper that you can chuck out there. It doesn't matter what kind of popper because it's the commotion. Okay, they're already fired up. You're feeding them. It's the commotion. So many different baits out there. You can throw stick baits. You can throw, twitch baits. But the poppers really seem to get them fired up. And it's a lot of fun to catch those fish on poppers. Another thing that you can do, if you do want, live bait, remember that all of those weed lines that we see out there are loaded in live baits. How many times you pull up to a weed line and there's like countless little fish swimming around it? All sorts of assorted little runners and this and that. Drop a sabiki rig down, catch them, put it on a hook, throw it out there. What the heck do you think the dolphin are eating? They're out there eating that stuff. Okay, and if you put a hook in one of them and it's wounded and it's easy prey, they're going to jump all over it. So you have a live bait source right at your fingertips at any time. offshore on those weed lines. Nevertheless, after we've had fun with all of those schoolies, and again, I have to stress, look, where I'm at in the Keys, that's how it unfolds every day. Where you are here, I'm not saying you can do that same thing, because obviously you're not running offshore every day and running into huge schools of dolphin. If you are, please come up here and tell us all where you're doing that, because we know how challenging it can be here, okay? For me, though, I've reached a point where I don't want to catch those smaller fish. I want to catch the bigger fish. I want to catch the fish that are considered gaffers or slammers, the quality fish, the bigger ones. But that's an art in itself, because those bigger fish are much smarter than the smaller fish. And they could be much more selective, because the bigger fish are not swimming around with 50 of their own kind that are trying to pick off their baits, okay? So they really can be much more selective. And it's rare where you're going to fool a 50-pound dolphin on that, okay? On a piece of plastic. It's very rare where you're going to fool a 50-pound dolphin on that. However, a whole squid, and I don't mean one of those little 4-inch squid that we were just talking about. I mean like a swordfish squid, or at the very least a deep drop squid, a big squid. Man, they just can't resist those things. The only other option is ballyhoo, a fresh ballyhoo. And I can tell you in the Keys, and even here, you can go out to those buoys off the pier in 25 feet of water, anchor up, put a chum bag in, and you're going to catch ballyhoo. You can throw a cast net on them. You can catch them with a small little gold hook, or the easiest thing in the world is this net called the ballyhoop. Anybody ever hear of the ballyhoop? Yep. People, it works. Okay, what's that? Yeah, it works, okay? I think he said if you have current, yes. Which he's right, because the way the ballyhoop works, if you have no current, it just sits there. Now they have a float that holds it up vertically. Point I'm making is there are tools out there for everyone to catch ballyhoo. At the very least, buy them. Okay, buy them. All of the ballyhoo that you buy, from Bionic Bait and some of these other companies, they're all caught in the Keys. They catch them today. They put them in big brine tanks. They ship them up here overnight. Tomorrow morning, they rig them, brine them, vacuum seal them, package them. Within a matter of days, they're in that bait freezer. It's as close to fresh as there is, but it isn't fresh. And of course, you've got to pay for it. Whereas catching them yourself really puts the freshest bait in your hands. And if you want to fool the biggest dolphin, you better fish the freshest bait. What we do with the ballyhoo, we break the beak off, the fish is thawed, the bait fish is thawed. Using my thumb and my finger, I'm going to turn that bait upside down, and I'm going to squeeze out all of his intestines. And all of his intestines are going to exit through the exit hole of the bait. That's what we'll call it. And it's all this green gooey stuff. Okay, that's what the ballyhoo is eating. They eat algae, that kind of stuff. And then I have this little tool that is this little metal, what looks like a spring, a spiral on the end, and we stick it back up in the exit hole, and we turn it and pull out all of his intestines. Because even though you got all of that poop out, there's still intestines in his belly. And you need to get all of that out in order to get that ballyhoo to swim properly. Then break the ballyhoo's back. Wiggle it. Break his back. Break his beak off. You now have a ballyhoo that literally will swim like it's alive. You come across any larger dolphin or picky dolphin, just stick that ballyhoo on a short shank hook right here. Throw them out there. You control it. You can reel it. You can twitch it. You can pop it on the surface. They're going to eat it. Okay, so those are really the two natural baits that we're going to fish are going to be the squid and the ballyhoo. Getting back to it. On the trolling aspect, before I get into the larger dolphin and the gaffers and the slammers, we talked about trolling. We talked about mimicking the squid with these little chuggers, various little baits, the one that's going around somewhere. I'm hoping I'll see it one day soon, okay? Or anything that looks just like it. Another option okay, is to mimic another one of the ballyhoo's primary forage, which is flying fish. Flying fish. What does that look like? I mean, if that's not an absolute ringer, dead giveaway for a flying fish, it's incredible. This is from a company called Isle Flyers. They come in a couple sizes, rigged and unrigged. You take the ballyhoo, you slide it over a ballyhoo. You now have a ballyhoo protruding from here, which gives it the appearance of literally having a flying fish in your hands. And the dolphin love them. They love them. It's such an easy bait to fish. It's simple, and I'm literally mimicking that flying fish. So if I want to mix it up a little bit in my trolling spread, put out 2 of the squid, and if I want to include a couple larger baits, I can include a couple flying fish fakes, so to speak. You can even fish these naked. Don't catch fish naked. Naked meaning with no bait. You know, in other words, nothing else, just the lure itself rigged. Okay, I don't need a natural bait with this. But I have found that if you take a rigged ballyhoo and slide that over the top of it, it's crazy how well that could work. I'm going to pass that around too, because I'd really like for you to take a close look at how much that really mimics a flying fish.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Yep. Well, at least wait for it to make its way back this way before you stick it in your pocket. So anyhow, we've caught all those schoolies. We've had fun. We caught some fish. You know, maybe if I'm here, I'm going to stay on them because it may be the only shot that I get all day. Okay, maybe the only shot at dolphin that I get all day. So I'm going to stay on them. And, you know, while I'm on that subject, anybody ever, you know, you're trolling around out here, corner of your eye, you catch something floating in the water, you circle around it, boom, you get a fish on. You turn around, you're fighting that fish, you land that fish, and you go, hey, where did that tree go? Where'd that branch go? You guys see it? No, it was over there. No, Joe, it was over there. No, Jim, it was over there. And you lose it. You guys follow me, right? You're out there, you come across some floating debris, you pick off a fish or two on bait, trolling, whatever it is, and then in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the battle, you completely lose sight of whatever it was that you stumbled across, and it drifts away. It's happened to me. Okay, I'm like, it was right here. And then you're going in figure eights and circles trying to find this one branch or palm tree frond or whatever it is, and it's gone. Not anymore. Not anymore. So I've got this rigged, and it's right next to my helm station every single time I go dolphin fishing. And it is nothing more than a float, a swordfish buoy for a buoy rod, that's what we call that. Stuck a piece of PVC pipe in there, glued it in, put a little flag on it, and you're going to need to put some lead in there. I didn't bring it, but you're going to need to put some lead in there because otherwise this is going to lay just like this, okay? And you want it to lay like this so you can see it. How far away can you see that? You're never going to lose sight of this, never. So something as simple as this, a marker, that's the point that I'm making. It's a simple marker that if you hook up or if you want to mark an area or mark a piece of floating debris, it literally takes 1 second to just go, poof, it's in the water. And it's now floating. I can go off and do whatever I want. And it might not be right next to the tree, but it's drifting in exactly the same direction at approximately the same speed. So at least I know it's over there, because it's very easy to get disoriented when you're offshore and think that what you saw over there is now over there. That's very easy. And by the time you go over there, the Gulf Stream current's running at 3 to 5 knots. Suddenly, when you go to backtrack over there, it's way over there. And it's just too easy to lose something. So something as simple, like I said, as a marker, is going to make a big difference. Getting back to it, we've caught our small fish. Gosh, I've had enough of them. These 5-pounders, 7-pounders, flippers, you know, whatever you want to call them. First of all, they destroy the boat. Okay? You want to talk about getting blood in places that I never even knew you could get blood in on a boat? Just go dolphin fishing, right? And you get into a dolphin, you know, frenzy, And when we get into that rotation, I'm going to tell you what we do as the guy coordinating, orchestrating everything. Because usually I'm taking out guests on VIP trips or whatever it may be, and not everybody is as seasoned or as experienced. So I'm the guy who's watching the fish, feeding the fish and keep them interested with the chunks, instructing everybody, bring that fish up. I try to unhook them with a pair of pliers. If I can't get that hook out easily, I quickly snip it, and I have another box of hooks right there, and I tie another hook on. But the fish, boop, right on the deck. Next one, boop, right on the deck. I'm not worried about the 8 or 10 fish flopping around on the deck. I'm worried about all of these other fish, and I'm focused on making sure everybody does the right thing and that we get these fish in the boat. 5 minutes later, we'll put all of these on ice. I don't need to stop every time I put a fish in the boat and go, okay, hold on, let's get this guy on ice, let's rinse off. I have saltwater washdown, okay? We all do. So don't worry about getting the fish on ice, worry about catching the fish and then get them on ice. Once the bite has calmed down, maybe the fish have shied off a little bit, maybe you just simply caught them all. And then there are certainly times where you'll catch a bunch, lockjaw. They literally will just shut off. And no matter what you put in front of them, they won't eat it. And there's so many times where I went, they see the line, and then I went, look, and I would take a handful of chunks, throw the chunks, they'll swim up to the chunk, and they won't eat it. So it's not that they're not eating because they see the line. They're not eating because they shut off, okay? For whatever reason, one of them said to everyone else, hey, we all better stop eating because Joe, Frank, and Sammy are gone. All right, so we better just stop eating, okay? I don't know where they went, but stop eating. And that's what happens. Now, maybe if you had a live pilchard or a live ballyhoo, you can get another one to eat. I don't know. But there's going to be times where they shut off. Nevertheless, like I said, it's now time to go look for some bigger fish. And that means sacrificing. That means making that sacrifice of saying, hey, I know that there's schoolies here. It's very likely that there's schoolies here. There's a lot of birds working, but I don't want to catch those schoolies because you stop on them, and that could be an hour, 2 hours, whatever, that you're wasting with these small little 5 to 8 pound, 5 pound, 3 pound, whatever, these little flippers that you're flipping over the side of the boat. So you have to be willing to sacrifice that and to go look for what might potentially be an area that holds bigger fish. Like I said, the frigates, less birds, okay? And in those scenarios, whenever I come across a frigate that I'm convinced he's following Dolphin, okay? He's up there, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's not a lot, but I'm watching him. And I'm like, man, he's looking, he's seeing something. You could tell the way that they're acting, the way that they're looking. You've got to be able to read the birds too, okay? Not all birds are flying the same. You've got to be able to identify what that bird is doing. And if he really seems interested in a particular area and staring into the water, he sees something. Very likely larger dolphin, and he's waiting for those dolphin to push that bait up toward the surface where he can then swoop down and pick that bait out above the surface, because remember, he can't get wet. In that case, I'm going to put out 2 rods, 2, with whole squid or ballyhoo, one or the other, depending what I have on the boat, or one of each sometimes. Rigging a ballyhoo nowadays could not be any easier than it's ever been before. You can buy ballyhoo that are pre-rigged, certainly, obviously frozen, like we talked about before, or you can rig your own ballyhoo in a number of different ways. But I have found the easiest way to rig a ballyhoo is with a spring, okay, with a rigging spring. And I'm going to explain to you how this works. You can purchase this already pre-rigged. Blue Water Candy, I believe, is a company that sells these pre-rigged. I'm probably certain they're on the shelf here somewhere in some variation. Has a single J-hook. Right above the J-hook is a small little egg sinker, 1/2 ounce, okay, right there, crimped on. And there's a little piece, you can probably, hopefully, make out the little piece of plastic of orange that's on the top of that wire, okay, right there. The only reason that little piece of orange is there is so I don't keep pricking my finger with it. Okay, that's the only reason that's there. We can hear, gone. Okay, now I take that ballyhoo and I prepare it the exact same way that we talked about earlier. We squeeze out all of its stomach contents. We then go back in the exit hole with our tools and pull out all of his intestines. We break his back, we wiggle him and break his back. We break his beak off. Very simple. You can do it literally in a matter of seconds. The hook is inserted behind the gill plate. You have to determine where it's going to exit that bait because you want that hook to be straight and in line with the ballyhoo. Once you do that, you simply take this little needle, I'll call it a needle because that's almost what it represents, and you stick it from the bottom up through the bottom jaw and the top jaw, right through. Boop, one time. Then on your rig, you have a little, what's called a rigging spring. It's just a little spring. And when you put it on that tip, all you do is turn it, and it cinches down on the bait. You just turn it and tighten it until it cinches down right on the bait. And now what you're left with is an actual ballyhoo that's rigged, that's going to swim perfectly. It's going to swim straight, and you can either fish it naked with nothing else on it, or, oh, I forgot where our little flyer, you can slide that flying fish down, but when I'm looking for big dolphin, I like to fish it naked. Why? Because the more shit I put on there, the more likely he is going to see that something isn't right. A ballyhoo's a ballyhoo, looks like a ballyhoo. He loves to eat ballyhoo. Here's a big ballyhoo swimming right in front of him. That's it, keep it simple. Okay, keep it simple, let him eat it. The fish then comes up, he clobbers it. He clobbers that ballyhoo or the whole squid. Now, at this time, you've got a big dolphin, 30 to 50 pounds, okay? Big slammer. He hit a spinning rod, a conventional rod, whatever. Man, you're excited. The fish is screaming offline. He's jumping on his first run. You're going, oh my God, he's 60 pounds. It's every bit of 30, okay? But you've had a few beers, you're super stoked. Your buddy's like, no, he's bigger. Either way, okay, he's out there jumping and you're super, super stoked. You got a big battle ahead of you, okay? A very big fight ahead of you. And if you don't react accordingly, you could potentially lose that fish very easily. And the odds, or I don't want to say the odds, the number of times, the occasions that you're going to hook a 30 to 50 pound dolphin. Guatemala, every day. Costa Rica, every day. Florida Keys, often. Hillsborough Inlet, holy shit, never. Okay? Once a year, if you're lucky. Once, maybe not even once a year. I mean, come on. I fished here for 25 years, so don't tell me anything different. Yeah, I've gone out. I remember one day we had 3 fish between 30 and 40 pounds within the first 20 minutes. What happened one time in 20 years? Okay, that doesn't happen often. So when it does happen, you better just slow it down. And you better reel up everything else and focus on that one fish, because that one fish is going to change the entire day. Make sure your drag is set properly. Take your time. Hold that rod tip low. You don't want to take a rod and fight a 40-pound dolphin with the rod tip up here. Anybody know why? That's going to encourage that fish to jump. Every time that fish jumps, he is violently shaking his head. And every time he violently shakes his head is one more moment that that hook could come flying out. Anybody ever lose a dolphin because he spit the hook? The only person is this little kid. He's the only one out of all of us. Don't worry, when you grow up, you're going to be a great fisherman just like all of us. We never lose big dolphin, ever. Never happens to us. It happens to all of us. We all know it, right? The dolphin jump, they shake their heads, they spit the lure, they spit the whatever it is that's in their mouth. So to minimize that, you want to keep that rod tip low to the water, okay? And instead of applying too much pressure, work as a team. Who's on the rod? Are you on the rod? You're on the rod. You know where I am? First of all, I don't like beer. I like rum and Coke, so don't make that mistake. That's number one. Number two, no, not in that scenario. I'm at the wheel. I'm chasing that fish down. I am closing that gap, okay? Yeah, he's fighting it very easily, very easy. Just keep that line tight, okay? Make sure there's no slack in that line at all. Enjoy the fight. The fish is gonna scream. He's still gonna jump. You do your part, and listen to me. I'm slowly, potentially one engine even, just slowly moving that boat closer to that fish. Okay, because if I try and drag that fish to me, you know what it's like? Imagine if you had one of these big mean pit bulls on a 50-foot leash and you try to drag that pit bull to you. Is that going to work out too well? But if I slowly take up the slack as I walk over to that pit bull, I'm much more likely to keep the pit bull calm, and I'm much more likely to have a happy ending to that whole scenario. Same situation with the big dolphin. Same situation. Slow it down. Remember that that fish has got a lot of fight in him. A 30 to 50-pound dolphin is a 40-minute to hour battle, okay, depending on the tackle that you've got that fish on. And you can catch a big fish like that on light tackle, on 20-pound gear. There's no problem catching a big fish like that on 20-pound gear if you've got a 30 or 40-pound leader. As long as you take your time and the guy on the wheel, like I said, slowly close that gap. That's the most important thing that I can tell you. It's not just pop the boat in neutral and everybody root him on and go, Joe, you got this, you got it, keep going, you got it, you're going to get him. No, you're not. You're going to lose him. And you know what? If you don't lose him during the fight, I assure you, you're going to lose him when your buddy goes to try and gaff him, okay? Because you guys have no clue what you're doing, clearly, and then he's just going to be swinging wildly with the gaff. Anybody ever lose a fish because of a bad gaff shot? Whew. Whew. We all have, right? We call that angler failure, okay? It happens to all of us, okay? You've got to minimize the, who cares if it's a 5-pound dolphin? Well, for me, I don't care. There's a million of them. For you, a 5-pound dolphin is still a dolphin, right? You don't even want to lose that fish. But it's not heartbreaking. You don't go home and have nightmares and not sleep for 6 days straight because you lost a 5-pound dolphin. I'm going to tell you a quick story about the largest dolphin that I've ever seen with my own eyes that I've been part of almost catching. Okay? Almost catching. This was a trip to Panama, and we fished an area called Hannibal Bank. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about that. It's about 50 miles off the coast of Panama, in between these giant mountains that come out of the water. So scenic, I'm like, where's Godzilla? Is he going to be up here somewhere? And we're trolling in this, what looks like a valley for blue marlin with these big, mole craft chuggers on, like 50 wide reels, back of a 31-foot Bertram, fighting chair, everything that you would picture. Got my daughter with me. At the time, I think she's 13. Trolling along, pow! Rod just explodes. Line screaming off the reel. We look back, and it's a dolphin. But not a dolphin, and not a big dolphin. It is King Kong of dolphins. I've never even knew dolphin got this big. Remember at the beginning of the seminar, I said I've seen dolphin to 70 pounds? This was it. So she sat in that chair, and she battled this thing like a champ. It was very hard for me not to fight this fish. But it was this is a special fish. A giant dolphin that big is a once-in-a-lifetime fish. And even if I'm not the one reeling on it, I'm still part of it. It's my daughter. I want her to experience this. So she's fighting this thing out of the fighting chair, and we're getting close. This thing looks like it's going to have a positive outcome. And, now we're seeing it closer. It's jumping, and it's absolutely unbelievable to me how big this dolphin is. So we're maybe, 10 feet from the fish. And the mate reaches over, and he grabs a gaff. You guys know those hand gaffs that you put your hand on, and the hook is right here? And he reaches over. Felipe, what in the hell are you doing? Where's the gaff? This is the gaff. Because a marlin fish They don't gaff fish. They're fishing for marlin and billfish that they release. So every now and then they catch a dolphin and they have this hand gaff. And already I'm going, oh my God. Oh my God. So now she's in the chair. The fish is up next to the boat. He grabs the line and he's literally trying to pull the fish to him so he can reach out with this little hand gaff. Half the fish is out of the water. Its head, I can't even explain how big this thing is. And I'm like screaming, no! But I can understand why he's doing it, because he can't reach the water with this little hand gaff. So he's literally trying to pull his fish up. The fish shakes its head, the lure goes, whoop, and the dolphin goes, whoop. Okay. Look. I just got to tell you this. It's very, very rare that you're out there and you hook a fish of a lifetime. But if you're not ready for that fish of a lifetime, when that fish of a lifetime crosses paths with you, you're going to miss an opportunity that you'll never have again. Never in my life have I seen a dolphin anywhere near that big ever again, and I likely will never. And if I ever do, it's likely never going to be on my line. I'm aware of that. A 70-pound dolphin is a 1 in 200 million, or whatever those numbers are. Be ready when you go out here, and I don't only mean dolphin fishing. Be ready when you go wahoo fishing. People have caught wahoo here over 100 pounds. You guys recently see that wahoo that was 132 pounds? Oh my God. Incredible. Nevertheless, when your chance comes at a giant fish like that, you better be ready. You better slow it down. You better think about what you're doing, strategize. Don't let angler failure with the hand gaff or tackle failure because it was a bad knot or a bad crimp or a bad drag or any one of those scenarios enter the equation when that one opportunity. Because what I just told you is a fish story. But I would rather be standing here holding up a mount of a 70-pound dolphin. They can't even make me a mount of a 70-pound dolphin because they don't have that mount, okay? They'd have to reinvent it just for me. It was that big, okay? I would have loved to be able to do that. But I didn't because they made a mistake over something that could have easily been avoided. I point that out because when you're closing that gap on that big fish, and to us, 70-pound dolphin may seem out of reach, but 50 certainly isn't. A 50, that's a coveted number, 50. Man, how many people have caught a dolphin? Honestly now, don't tell me it was 50 when he was 38. How many people have officially caught a dolphin over 50 pounds? Look at the numbers. 2. Unless there's somebody else back here, 2. And if you ask me how many I've caught over 50 pounds in the Atlantic, that'd be a big fat 0, okay, because they were all in the Pacific. So I've never had a shot at a fish that large here. But I'm ready for it because it could happen at any day. In the Keys, 50-pounders are like, you want to get somebody excited? 50-pound dolphin? That's like a ham sandwich. That's nothing. It happens so often down there, not every day, but it's common. So make sure that you're ready. Close that gap to that fish. Have a gaff ready. Think about where you are on the boat. If you're up in the bow of a big center console, you're up here, the guy's fighting the fish up here, and you got a 6-foot gaff. Are you going to reach that fish? No, and the fish would have to be right here. You think that big dolphin likes being right next to a 39-foot CV? No, he doesn't know it's a 30. He's like, hey, Mike, what's up? Kill me. No, he just sees this giant thing and instinctively wants to go the other way. So the further that I could reach out to stick that fish, the better off that I am. So make sure you have a lengthy gaff. Gaff the fish, if you can, in the head. A big fish, a big cow, or a big dolphin. A big bull. Gaff them in the head. But any shot you get, take it. Any shot, because it may be the only shot that you get. The longer that that fish is in the water, the more likely that there's a hole wearing in its face, okay? And the more likely that he's going to shake that hook out. It's just a matter of time. It's a game. That's all it is. It's a game. Are you going to win the game? To win the game, you've got to get the fish in the boat before something fails. A knot, the leader frays and breaks because it's been rubbing on the side of the fish's face. So many different scenarios. Even by doing nothing wrong, monofilament stretches, it's like elastic, right? And retracts. Well, that builds up heat. That in itself builds up heat, especially in fluorocarbons. You ever fight a fish for a long time and then you bring it up and the leader, which started as clear, is suddenly milky white, right? The whole leader is like milky white, okay? That's because of the heat that was built up in the line and it created abrasion. So it's just a matter of time before it fails. And you've got to close that gap and land that fish before that happens, okay? Look, I'm telling you, there's perhaps no more exciting fish than the dolphin. We all know that. And certainly the most prominent, the most common of all game fish, not only up and down the entire Atlantic seaboard, the Gulf of Mexico, the Pacific coast, they're everywhere, the Caribbean. Okay, I've been to Jamaica and caught dolphin. Okay, at least I think that's what it was. Some of you will get that later. That's it. Anyhow, they're everywhere, okay, throughout the Bahamas, and people love catching them. You can't help but love catching them. But next time you go out dolphin fishing, just slow it down a little bit and think about what you're doing. And while you want to go out there and instinctively put out a lot of lines and so, you know, all of this fancy stuff and shiny and pizzazz and, you know, I like to call it, somebody gave me a great word. They fished with me one day and they're like, you know, we fish way too much schmeckla. I said, you fish what? He says, way too much schmeckla. And I'm like, what in the heck is schmeckla? Schmeckla is all that stuff that you're all fishing with, the feathers and this and the colors and the flash. There's just, sometimes it's too much. You got to keep it simple. You got to keep it streamlined. You have to understand that sometimes no matter what you do, you're not going to fool those dolphin, even if you scale it down, because you better be ready with different class leader material, because sometimes going from 40 to 30 to 20 is what's required to get those fish to eat. There's no question. 7.0 live bait hooks to 5.0 live bait hooks is important. The entire arsenal, going from a relatively heavy spinning rod, 30-pound braid, 40-pound leader. This is rigged and ready because the fish are next to the boat. They're hungry, they're aggressive, they're eating. We could easily catch them. On the other hand, there's times we might just have to scale it down to a 20-pound outfit with 20-pound leader material, regardless if it's a hook or a popper on here. Just an all-around lighter presentation. So be ready to change it up. The bait that we talked about earlier, you don't need a lot of live bait, but you better be ready with some cut bait. Okay, either cut bait that you cut yourself, either bonita chunks or any of the other options that we talked about, and you better be ready with some hook baits, okay, just in case those dolphin come by. And lastly, I also want to mention who sword fishes, daytime sword fishing, okay, handful of people. When you're out there daytime sword fishing, you better put a couple flat lines out for dolphin because you're in dolphin territory. Who deep drop fishes? Okay, even more people for, here, rosies and tilefish and goldens. We never deep drop fish without two flat lines out because we're in dolphin territory, regardless if we're, in the Keys or here. Here, I would say 40 to 50% of the trips that we had flat lines out while we were deep dropping, we encountered dolphin at some point throughout the day. Maybe one, maybe a whole school, but at some point throughout the day, we had an encounter with dolphin. In the Keys, when you're deep dropping, if you have two flat lines out, that number goes from 40 to 50% to 90 to 95%. Because again, you're right in that zone and there's simply more fish there. There's simply more fish there. That's the bottom line. You can't, I don't care what you picked up from this seminar here. I don't care what tips, tactics, techniques, what you think. Look, the bottom line is you can't catch fish that aren't there. I don't care how good you try. I don't care if you're in a $12 million, 90-foot Merritt, okay, built right here in Pompano, and you go out here dolphin fishing with all of the best tackle, all chaos rods and Shimano reels and the best stuff. If the fish aren't there, you're not going to catch them. So you are in an area that's challenging, but there is opportunity. We all know that. There are some fish here. We catch dolphin when we're kite fishing. You know, kite fishing for king mackerel or sailfish, we'll encounter dolphin. That's always exciting. We'll encounter dolphin when we're pulling strip baits on the edge of the reef for, you know, king mackerel and wahoo. There are times you'll encounter dolphin. So there's certainly opportunities for them, and you've got to be ready for all of those different scenarios. And at the end of the day, the one last thing I'd like to tell you is how I enjoy to eat dolphin. Okay? I have found that, again, fresh, of course, is the best way to eat any fish. And because it's such a neutral fish, you can cook it so many different ways. But a coconut curry on dolphin over some jasmine rice, money, baby. And if you want that recipe, just email me. Or again, log on to Fsftv.com and check out our Captain's Kitchen. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.